Wait.
Yeah.
I don't know how this works, everybody. Are other people listening to us right now, John?
Yeah. So you can see the room, right? So it's the two of us up here on what we call a couch. What we call the couch, and then those are the bean bags down there. Everybody's down on a bean bag. I'm about to open up the couch, at which point folks who want to come up and join us for the episode will raise their hand. I cap it. Tonight I'll be capping at 13 folks so that there's 15 of us watching the episode. That's the exact number of people who fit on an iPhone screen without having to sort of scroll. That's basically the idea with that.
Got it. Let me ask a dumb question.
Yeah.
How when I press play on the show, isn't the audio going to mess with the audio that everyone is listening to?
Yeah, we're going to go over that, but I'll tell you right now, when we're not speaking, we always mute our mics. So in the lower, so everybody knows, Sean got onto Clubhouse like an hour ago. So,
yeah, I'm new to this, everybody. Hi.
So lower right, you've got your microphone, and if you tap that, it mutes you.
Okay.
So we stay muted when we're not speaking, and then when we want to say something, we unmute it for a second. I also ask that people try to keep the volume on their televisions as low as they can while still being able to hear it.
Right.
And so that alleviates it a bit. We do occasionally hear people's audio in the background. I use headphones, so you can't actually hear mine. But that's the basic idea. I'm gonna actually
you use your headphones for the show or for the Clubhouse?
I use it for the show.
Got it.
So that you can't hear my audio on my television whenever I speak.
Got it.
So I think that I am going to just give it just a second here. There's a few more people that are joining, and then I'll open this up. I like to try and get folks. I like to make sure folks have joined so that everybody has an opportunity to raise their hand. That's something I've been doing recently. Before, I used to just open up the room, and then it was sort of a free for all.
And for everyone who's of age, I have a lovely glass of Roussanne, and I highly recommend a glass of wine for this episode.
I'm drinking beer.
Fair.
But I think I'm a little bit more in the Hep Alien space for this episode.
I see. You're also just a little more lowbrow than I am as a human being.
This is very true. All right, everybody. We are going to open the couch, and I encourage anyone who wants to hop up here with us and participate in a little bit of DVD style commentary, mystery science theater-esque chit chat. Raise your hand. I will pick the first 13 people on that list. All right, here we go. And open. All right. Well, that's a lot of people. All right. 2, 3. Okay.
Okay. So we've got Cynthia here, and Gwen, and Megan, and Hannah.
Hey guys.
And
Hello.
Jamie, and Jessica.
Hello.
And
hi everyone.
Flash something.
Hi. How do we
All
know
right.
we can be first?
Lovely. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Hi. Hello. Hi. Hello. So I recently just got a projector, and the screen came today. So tonight's episode is going to be on a big old screen.
All right. I think that's 14 of us, right? Or no? Did somebody fall off? I counted 13 after Sean and I, which should be 15. Did you see somebody appear and then disappear? No.
Did I?
No, I guess not.
I didn't.
All right,
notice.
we're gonna
I celebrate
invite one more person up.
by the way.
That is Amanda. Amanda, you are in top spot. That should be our couch. Now, for everybody who wanted a spot up on the couch, don't you worry. You will have another opportunity at the very end of this. We're going to be sticking around for about 45 minutes to discuss what we just saw. And at that point, I'm going to open the couch to everyone. And you can come on up and chit chat with us. How's everybody doing today?
Great. Good. It's Friday.
Yay,
My day off. I'm great.
The best day of the week.
Anniversary, staying away from the husband.
Oh, that's nice.
So would this be classified as a fan favorite episode? For those of you who don't know, I've never watched the show.
No.
You may know that I was in the show, but never watched it. So this is all new to me, believe it or not. Although now, we're past the midway point of season 3, so I know a lot. I've met a lot of characters, but there are a lot of folks that I don't. I mean, I didn't even know that this Billy Burke character. I had no idea that this character was even in the show, and I'm in a scene with him.
Wait, Billy Burke. Who's that again?
He plays Alex.
Oh yeah, sure.
And he's the dad from Twilight.
That
That's
doesn't help
basic.
me at all, but
You don't have to realize that
I
until
remember it from the show,
recently.
actually.
Like,
Somebody
he looks
posted
so
a picture.
different.
Somebody posted a picture of him on my Twitter with a mustache, thinking that would somehow help jog my memory, and it didn't. All right, I'm gonna actually dive into my spiel, and we're gonna start on time today, which is becoming rarer and rarer.
No, you?
Yeah. Surprise, surprise. I just like pretty much every day I start these rooms seconds after having placed the dog bowls down on the floor for my dogs to eat. So I'm like, I am just, yeah.
I just
But
love my dogs too.
You were familiar with this about me. Yeah. All right. Hey, everyone. To all of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. This is Remarcus. We're a community of folks who like to watch our favorite television shows together, virtually, but as if we were all in the same room, gathered around the same television, passing boxes of takeout amongst each other. And the first show that we are watching together is Gilmore Girls, a show that, as I just said, I was an actor on, but I never actually watched. And so I thought it would be fun to watch it with fans. That's what we're doing. Those who arrive early can grab a seat on what we call the couch. That's this area up top here with 15 of us that have little microphones next to our avatars. That means that we can chat during the episode as if we were creating a sort of social DVD style commentary track, except rather than writers and directors, it's fans, who very often know as much, sometimes even more than the writers and the directors did. There are no real rules to how much or how little we chat. We can chat whenever we feel the urge, same as if we were casually watching together in person. However, I will say that we hit our sweet spot when we keep our remarks to what's actually happening in the episode. We try our best to squeeze those remarks in, if we can, into the air between dialogues that we can still sort of follow what's going on in the show. If we have longer thoughts or we want to have a conversation, I just ask that you save that for after the show, because as I said, we're going to stick around for about 45 minutes afterwards to chat about what we saw. We always avoid talking about future episodes. And I know that might be hard because some of you have seen this show, I don't know, maybe once or twice, but that will spoil it for some of us that haven't seen the show, like, for example, myself. We keep our...
I shouldn't talk about the moment when Brian gets decapitated in season 5.
Dude.
That's the best part.
Dude.
John.
Oh, I'm
John,
sorry. I'm sorry, guys. You'll see. It's great. It's a lot funnier than it sounds.
John,
Yes.
I hate to interrupt, but Kathy Ann just sent me a message saying that you haven't started Instagram yet.
Oh, thank you very much. Apologies, Kathy Ann. And apologies, folks on Instagram. Hi, Instagram. I just started. They're just coming in. Apologies for that. Nobody has joined yet on Instagram. Okay. Hello. Now they're starting to join. Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. Sorry for forgetting. I blame Sean. All right. So again, no spoiling on future episodes. Obviously, now I'm completely spoiled on the death of my character, but that's okay. We keep the volume on our television. This goes back to what you were asking before, Sean. We keep the volume on our TV as low as we can while still being able to hear it, so that when we do speak, others can't hear the episode in the background, or not much of it. And when we speak, we unmute for a second. Then when we finish our thought, we quickly mute again. That also alleviates that a bit. And of course, when we aren't speaking, keep the mics muted to reduce background noise. All of these sessions are being recorded and archived on the Remarcus app. If you don't feel comfortable being recorded or having your recorded remarks available to the public, then just simply don't come up onto the couch or don't speak. We sometimes do have snags. So if you, for example, lose your internet or you get knocked out of the room, just come back in. You'll be on the couch as if you were, if you were on the couch, you'll be back the way that you were before. If your episode cuts off and you need to figure out where you are in the episode, there's a very easy way to do that. You can get the Remarcus app at remarcus.com, sign up for an account, and at that point, you can go into the event calendar and into the page for this particular event where you will see a time code for where we are in the episode. I would also say, if you don't have the app, you should really get it, because aside from a helpful tool during our watches, there's lots of other fun stuff that we're going to be rolling out over the coming months, collectibles and in-game currency for engagement and prizes and all kinds of really fun VIP events for folks who have the app. If you don't want to have the app, though, that's totally cool. You can also find that time code on my Instagram account, where I have an Instagram live feed playing. You can find that link to my Instagram by tapping the avatar here in the room, my avatar, opening up my profile where you'll see the link. We always skip ahead past the previously on if you're watching from the DVDs. That's not an issue if you're watching from Netflix. But we always start at the start of the episode. I don't know. Is there a previously on? Do we know?
No, Mary said no.
There is not. So there's no worries. And we begin our episodes. We're going to be doing a countdown to begin the episode. For those of you who are new, I'm going to start that in a second. First, let me get my recorder up and going. All right, we are officially recording. And now I'm going to head into the Remarcus app so that I can get that time code going. All right. The name of this episode is Face Off. And this is going to be fun. All right, everybody. Most of you know the drill. Have your remotes ready? We're all going to press play on the count of 3, unless anybody has any questions. Great. We're going to press our play buttons on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Well, I love Mike Winters. That's been the general consensus. I also wanted to mention about Michael Winters the other day in comparison to the Sherry character, both characters that have are sort of presented as annoying characters, but Taylor beloved as annoying, beloved.
Could you please be quiet while Milo's on the screen, please?
Agreed. I second that motion.
French.
That's a solid joke, that French joke.
The printing on those buttons is really impressive. That is a lot of text for a button.
I think a lot of text is pretty much the motto of the entire show.
Could be. Did Luke get a haircut?
Oh, fully.
Oh, absolutely. Is
I
very
think I'm
short.
in this scene. No, I'm not. I remember. It's weird when I remember lines, and I don't know if it's from the table read or if I'm about to show up in the episode.
There was an episode already where I had lines that that I remember. I remember from the script that were not in the episode. I mean, I have to imagine that happened fairly frequent or enough, especially for a character like yours. No?
This is my first season as a regular. Being in the opening credits was a kind of a dream come true, I think, as an actor. So, Rory, how are things?
I remember when that was being set up. I remember how excited you were.
They spelled Ross right this time.
Oh, Marianne Ross was in this episode. She's so great.
Because we usually give our guests the towel.
In a previous episode, they Netflix spelled her name Marion Rod.
Rod.
Oh, Kenny directed this episode. Awesome.
I'll ask more later, but wasn't Kenny Ortega a choreographer?
Yeah, he was.
Yes, he was. One of the things he choreographed was the opening of the Olympics. He actually, I think he directed the opening ceremony of the what Olympics? I guess maybe the Atlanta Olympics. It's an interesting thing. He directed.
Didn't he also do High School Musical?
He did, yes, but he hadn't done it yet by this point. I don't think he did. Am I wrong? Maybe my timing's wrong on that.
It's kind of a Sergeant Pepper's looking jacket for Emily. Kind of out of her wheelhouse.
It really is.
I think it's pretty sweet, actually.
I love that color on her.
I would actually like to see Emily playing charades. I feel like that would be really entertaining. I like seeing her do just about anything. I think she's my favorite character. I love her so much.
All right, I got a text. High School Musical was after this.
Your favorite character? I'm right here. I'm sitting right here.
No offense, Sean. My mom watched the show for the first time ever this year, and Kirk is her favorite character. So once she became a regular, she got really happy.
She has excellent taste.
I named my fish after Kirk. We love you.
Aww.
Name your cat after Kirk, like Kirk did.
I prefer meat. I have two fish. They're puffer fish, and one's cat Kirk and one's Kirk.
That is awesome.
I wasn't allowed to have anything to do with naming the lizards. My daughter wouldn't let me.
That's fair.
I don't have a cat Kirk, but I do have a cat Betty White.
We have a Kirk in the box tea down in on the love seats.
Is it a clear plexiglass box?
Yes, it was.
That's
That's breaking the rules. Not supposed to discuss that yet. No, but that's what we call tea. She's Kirk in a box.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So I think Television Without Pity on the recaps used to have a scarf count for Gilmore Girls, right? Like this would be a good scene for that.
The count goes up just like several increments in this one episode.
I just feel like they're always wearing scarves. It could be summer. It doesn't matter. They're just so well accessorized.
It was often very hot when we would be shooting these scenes with mittens and scarves and things. It does not get very cold in Southern California, as some of you geography enthusiasts may know.
I noticed on the. Sorry, go ahead, Gwen.
I'm sorry, just also that they didn't really have mountains in Connecticut where this would be placed, but sometimes like in a scene like this when you can see it in the background.
Oh yeah, you can fully see the hills back there. I mean, they're not really mountains, but yeah.
I'm in the Midwest, so to me, totally mountainous.
And being from Colorado to California, there are molehills.
Your team, Jess, aren't you?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I am Team Logan.
Who?
I'm Team Logan.
He
Who's
doesn't
that?
know who that is.
Everyone's gasping.
Yeah, well, but he doesn't know who that is, so
Yeah,
we're not
there you
allowed to
Stop
talk about-
spoiling it, Sean.
Oh, wait, everybody be quiet. I'm on television.
What were you actually reading? Do you remember?
Hold on that. Let me see what I'm holding.
This looks like a newspaper that's laying next to you.
Yeah, I think it was a prop newspaper. So like just like jumbled random words, probably. But it looks like I'm really reading because I went to acting school.
Yes, your acting is immaculate.
I was going to say very impressive.
Your space reading is just top notch, man.
Why was I in that scene? That was hilarious. Was I cut from the? I must have had a bit in that scene that was cut. I was never in a scene where I'm just sitting in the background the whole time. That's
I
funny
was.
to me.
Makes the town more believable.
Eye candy.
Wait.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad idea.
This is the one. This is the one where I'm playing. I'm actually playing.
This is one of my favorite scenes.
John, is it the only one in the whole show that you actually like?
I believe it is the only one that I ever played. It's the first one that I ever played and the last. Yeah, the Zach and Brian relationship is now pretty much it's pretty much matured at this point. 2 episodes into that.
John, you used to be funny.
I don't know what happened.
Shots fired.
I mean, listen to that bass. It is awful. That's genuinely me because it's terrible. It's just terrible.
I won't ask Brendan to come in to critique it then.
Oh, look, Taylor's wearing a scarf. There's like 6 or 7 of them there now with scarves on.
I kind of want to start counting, Gwen. That would be 4 so far, right?
I loved Michelle in this scene.
He was so nice. He could have been so mean.
It's excellent casting as Taylor's brother. Looks just like him.
Makes you feel so bad for Taylor.
Explains so much about him.
Right, but he always does everything that's self-serving anyway. He doesn't care what anybody else wants.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I know. Poor Taylor.
Maybe he's just controlling his life because he couldn't before.
And Emily's hair is awesome in this scene.
She has a standing appointment every Wednesday at 3.
Wow, this is really like an episode where the where we feel sympathy for the characters we normally are supposed to be sort of irked by.
It's off the table.
Yeah, totally.
She doesn't know where to get a slide projector, but when they went to Harvard, they did slides and saw slides of the squirrel.
And the Lorelai's finger.
Well, you just ruined the show for me. Thanks a lot.
Those we saw already.
Yeah, it was a previous episode, so that's okay.
Oh my goodness, I have no recollection of this scene. Or that outfit. The outfit.
Scarf.
Own smile.
I'm Team Young Chu.
Side table stuff.
I applaud that.
Oh. Now I know why I have no recollection of that scene.
Did Melissa McCarthy ever do anything after Gilmore Girls ended?
Nah.
Who's Melissa McCarthy? See, I've always been a diehard Team Jess, and then I watched this episode earlier to prepare for watching with you guys, and I'm like, damn, I get it, why people get mad at him. He's kind of a jerk in this episode. Like, I know it's like kind of like he doesn't know any better, but he's just kind of clueless.
So you're coming over to the light side, joining the Team Dean.
I can't do the Dean, no.
I think
Unless
you're gonna
it's
get us to go back for that one.
I'm team young adult and up, Jeff.
That's a good, yeah.
I do
I'm team like revival, Jess. Really good in the revival.
I'm team go to college to get a career and worry about having a mate later in your life.
I'm on that boat.
I agree with that. I think that's why, Team Dean seems to work. What?
Lip again.
Why is he wearing
that was awesome.
Seen the stuff, guys.
I love how she's sneaking out.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome.
I think this is only Kelly Bishop's best episode.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
she's
Kelly.
a magician. She's just so good. Oh, here we go. I haven't seen this episode since it was actually on.
I
the air.
love Babette's voice
At the
here.
time, this is a really good episode, actually.
All right, Dean does look pretty great in his uniform, not gonna lie. So tall. It's the skates.
That note, though, awesome.
And the being 6'4" thing.
I wonder if they sang that there. Probably not.
I wish we got a spin-off of Babette and Miss Patty.
Oh, they're best.
That would be incredible.
So great.
Do you know much about hockey, Sean?
I don't know nothing, but it's the least it's the sport I follow the least of the major sports.
Just say no.
Of course, Young Chu's girlfriend's name is Karen.
That must have cost a lot just to get the permission to use Let's Get Ready to Rumble.
Yeah, that seems like it would be a clearance issue.
They must have had some end to getting that, or maybe I really enjoyed this. We'll get into that later, but I really loved doing this quite a bit.
That was just beautiful.
Yeah, what a lovely voice, John.
We worked hard on that harmony.
He can sing. This guy can actually sing, this John Cabrera fella.
John, I like how upset you are that you're out of tune.
I mean, I probably was out of tune.
John, let's go karaoke when Los Angeles reopens.
Oh, I'm there. I love karaoke.
So do I.
I sing, my song is Babe by Styx. Sean knows that.
Great band.
Have we met her?
Nope.
Oh, okay. They present her as though we're supposed to know who that is.
Well, I think you would know who she was by her name. Isn't that correct?
Not yet.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's very strange.
I don't think that was weird at all. I thought Lindsay was very sweet.
No, I meant it was weird that that we weren't introduced to the character, but it felt
No.
like it was.
Rory just said it was weird, dude. She's saying.
Oh, I see.
But
Sorry.
that was weird, though.
Dave's acting more weird. And then there's Dean jealous.
I'm supposed to tell you guys that my husband did a movie with Adam Brody.
I think Lorelai was too mean to Jess when he first came to town, and then it carried over to him not liking her.
Was she maybe a little too familiar with him in that scene for a mother? Did she overstep the social mother-daughter boundaries there?
Yeah,
I think so.
Food for thought.
That sounds just like how John felt about Dean at first with Lorelai.
That is exactly what I said about that. When he shows up at the window, I think that's something that Lorelai does.
No, I would do it too. My daughter's 16. I would absolutely tell a guy he's not treating her right.
I'd do the same, or I did the same.
Your game commentary is the best. Sean, was that all scripted? Were you able to improv at all while you were announcing, or did they give you all that? So good.
There's not a syllable of the show on the 7 seasons that I was on that is improvised. Every word was scripted.
Yeah, we've talked about this a few times. Improv does not exist in the writing world of Gilmore Girls.
Which is cool, I think. I sort of like that.
I loved it. I loved it.
Does anybody else have a hard time believing that Lane didn't know that Dean had a new girlfriend? It's a small town.
Yeah,
So-
I had a hard time believing that.
That's a valid concern.
I mean, she keeps her head down as a good student. She's sneaking around with a new boyfriend in a band. Maybe she was just preoccupied with her own stuff.
Yeah, I just assume it's because she was obsessed with Dave at this point.
Yeah, but he was her ex, so you know that Lane would have kept eyes on him.
Oh God.
I always wonder where they found the old lady's outfit.
And Marion Ross is just incredible in this role.
I love how Emily starts singing.
I grew up in the South, and Emily's passive aggressiveness reminds me so much of like the typical Southern moms that I know down there.
Me too. Like, she is just like my grandmother.
Like, oh, bless your heart.
Have you seen it, Mom? I have.
Way too excited. I love it when they're getting along though.
I love that she does. I love that. I love this scene.
She's glowing.
Dressed like a bookie. I had to laugh out loud at that one.
That's one of Emily's best lines.
Sean, you could be announcer for the Saints waiting for their next Super Bowl.
I'm not gonna lie, that is one of my single favorite moments from my entire run on the whole series. Is that little speech right there? I really, really enjoy it. Oh, it was awesome.
Hey, how are you? Oh, God.
It's so funny. The writing is so funny. It cracks me up every time. Feels like this Lindsay character is going to be something bigger in the show, I guess. That's exhibit A of why Alexis Bledel is an underrated actress, in my opinion. That is an absolutely beautifully played scene.
Seems like a 16 candles shout out here with Jess on the car.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, that's not her fault. He's got to tell her. That's not, you can't, she's not on call.
Agreed.
Jess probably only got the ticket because he knew that she was gonna be mad.
Absolutely.
He also kind of frames it as if that's all he was doing all night.
She's 16. Infatuation will get you like that.
Look, Gran has a headache, but you know, Gilmore's, their blood, they don't get sick. I just noticed that there's a picture of Lorelai and Rory on the nightstand. I never noticed that before in my 100 times watching this.
Ooh, same. She's so good.
This scene. Wow. That scene was incredible.
Yes. Well,
Like,
Kelly
she's fighting.
a virtuoso.
I love this part.
I love when the two of them have scenes together. I feel like they just get closer and closer.
I love how Richard's cracking up.
This scene always cracks me up.
Even though she has said cahoots, oh, but I guess it's him because he's kind of, you know, respectable.
I got a little choked up watching Ed there. I haven't seen him. I have not seen the show much since Ed died. And God, I miss that guy.
Virtual hugs.
Love how Lorelai just knows something's up. And what is she thinking about? Makes me crazy.
Ooh, that was a good episode. I feel like I haven't had that kind of reaction to to an episode. I'd say in at least maybe 3 or 4. That one was just awesome.
We should watch the next one.
Yeah, I hear that this weekend is going to be pretty awesome. That there are a lot of really good ones coming. All right, I'm going to actually open up before we dive in. I'm going to open up the couch, and if you are out there and would like to join us up here, the couch is about to get magically longer. Lots of cushions opening up, and I'm going to also make somebody a moderator to help me bring people up here. All right, couch opening now. All right. Whoa. Oh my goodness. We're gonna have a lot of people up here.
I figured this was gonna be a big one.
Yeah, this is gonna be big. Okay. All right, 1 second. All right, one. You guys can start chatting amongst yourselves. I actually am curious. I want to talk about that last moment. Like, what is Rory thinking there? Is she starting to have feelings for Dean again? Is that about Jess?
That my boyfriend treated me like dirt, and I put up with it.
Well, that whole episode's not jealousy, right? It's like jealousy. Dean's jealous. Rory's jealous. Jess is jealous. Even Emily's jealous of Richard's mother. It's pretty interesting.
Rory's embarrassed because she's letting him treat her like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I think it's one of those classic, like, being at war with yourself kind of thing, where she, like, wants it to be different, isn't accepting the reality for, like, what it is yet, and knows that mom would probably be ashamed if her mom knew what was actually going on.
Okay, so
Sorry, John, since we have a lot of new people today, I'm wondering if we want to kind of go over the
Yes. Let me get into that really quickly. First, before we do, Sabrina, I made you moderator so that you could help me as new folks are asking to come up onto the couch. That will allow me to sort of do 2 things at once, or not do 2 things at once. I would also just be observant of who is asking to come up onto the couch and use your best judgment as to whether or not they actually watched the show with us and are legitimately wanting to.
Maybe the guy who sang us a little song will come back.
Right.
That's not follow me on Instagram, guy.
Yeah,
that's not remotely funny.
Before Chris has to jump on somebody again.
Okay, so let me chat really quickly here.
That's not remotely funny.
We have a lot of folks here on the couch with us. This is easily the biggest couch we've ever had. So just a couple of pointers on the discussion. Let's try and keep, again, as I said in the opening, let's try and keep focused on what happened in the episode. Let's talk about how we feel about certain moments. Let's try and dissect, the scenes between characters. And we're going to try and keep it as much of a casual conversation as we can, which means that if you can feel the air between somebody, the air after somebody's response enough that you feel comfortable, responding, you can certainly feel free to do so. However, if it starts to get like people are overlapping one another, I'd say it's going to just be so much easier if we have a little way of raising our hand to let people know, hey, I have something I want to say in response to that particular thing. And that is, we flash our mics. We do it by just simply tapping our microphone over and over like so. And when somebody's doing that, and Sabrina, you're going to help me pay attention. So the whole community actually helps to, you know, sort of spot. At this point, there's so many people here that I'd have to scroll to see who's down at the bottom, and so I sometimes miss folks that are waiting to respond to something. But that's probably going to be the best way, especially with the number of people that we have on the couch. That's going to be the best way for us to manage all of the conversation here tonight. You know, that said, I do prefer when things are just sort of naturally conversational. So don't, you know, if you have something that you want to say in response, maybe somebody responded to you and you feel like you would like to respond to what they said, you know, you can certainly keep it conversational and just respond. All right, so I want to talk about that last moment. I think that's kind of a good way we can sort of work backwards. So Sean, you're saying that I buy that this episode is really like about jealousy is sort of a major theme here in the episode.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's what it seemed to me. But you know, just as sort of a broad statement, I think that's actually a really strong episode for what it's worth. I think that's the show operating at its sort of kind of firing on all cylinders, where there's a parallel to what different characters are experiencing, and that you know, that both the adult world of Lorelai and her parents is in some way having a reflection on the younger world of Rory, and it's really funny. It's a really funny episode, and the acting is great. It's a really good one.
Yeah, I think something really interesting I was thinking about was the parallel between Emily and Rory, because Rory left that message where she was standing up for herself on the phone to Jess. And then when he came back with tickets, she asked him to delete it without hearing it, which means that took away all of her power, all of her standing up for herself. And then the parallel with Emily, Lorelai kind of talked her down, said, don't do it. It's not worth it. You know, don't stand up for yourself. But then she turned around in a moment and she did.
Tasha's flashing.
Tasha, you want to respond to that?
Well, of course I do. Anything involving Jess, I would love to comment on. You know that. So I feel like, and I think I've touched on this many times before, and I was talking to Kathy Ann about this. I feel like, and this kind of goes back to like being a teenager, and I've been in relationships, not entirely like this, but where like I don't really know where we stand, and I get upset and not like fly off the handle, but like try and stand up for myself, and then he does something kind of sweet type thing, and it's like, and as much as I hate to admit this, like they are kids and they are trying to figure out like what a good relationship is and what like things that need to be fixed and changed and stuff like that. And I think Lorelai kind of was saying, was it Lorelai? Yeah, Lorelai said that like Rory was spoiled with Dean being her first boyfriend, and it's like the epitome to a point of what a boyfriend should be and stuff like that. And so going from Dean and Jess and comparing the two, I don't think it's fair or right to do, because they're two separate people, as Lorelai has said. And I think we kind of need to take each of them for face value, and like what they each do wrong and what they each do right, because they do great things but in different ways, and they do bad things in different ways, and we both have seen that. We all have seen that so far. And I feel like with what Jesse did, yeah, he was trying to kind of like soften what's been going on and things like that, but I'm done. And stuff like that. But I know, like, they're just kids, so they're all just trying to figure out what they should do in a relationship. But I think what Jess did was kind of sweet.
Did I misinterpret that very end moment? I interpreted it as she's actually thinking about Dean again.
I think it's actually.
Veronica, you were saying something?
Oh, thanks.
I actually think she feels badly for letting Lorelai down because she had just told her mom a lie because she asked, and what'd you do afterwards? And she said, just so like that. So I think it's actually more to do with, mom, and what will she think of this rather than, I think it did hit her, Dean's got a new girlfriend, but I don't think at that point, in that evening, that she was thinking about Dean. I think she was like, oh, I just lied to mom.
Carl.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad that you brought that up, Veronica, because that scene, that last scene of just her laying down in her bed, I really thought that Rory was just contemplating herself changing for a guy and just kind of being upset with that. Because like what Tasha said, they're kids, they're trying to figure it out and all that type of stuff. But as it's been mentioned throughout the episodes, they said it for episodes, Rory has been spoiled. Rory had a really good boyfriend the first time around. Rory knows about relationships and stuff like that. And also she's used to a certain type of socialization from her mom, her grandparents, from Suki, like Luke. Like she is used to being treated a certain type of way. And like with Jess, like she loves Jess and things like that. But like I feel like she's kind of contemplating, oh my God, what's going on here? Like my fallback is no longer my fallback. Like I feel like there was just a lot of things going on in her head that it doesn't really seem like it's one thing that she was thinking about. It just seems like everything, if that makes sense.
It's funny that you
I
called
think that's
Dean
true.
her
Yes.
fallback.
I think it's interesting that I believe that, I remarked when we were watching the episode that like, oh, you can't, Jess can't just walk in with tickets and like pretend like this is a wonderful thing to do when he didn't make any plans with her or anything like that. And I think Rory knows full well that her mom would have said what I said there. That like she knows that her mom would be like, Rory, you can't just let a guy walk all over you and then come in and do something charming and just like instantly forgive him. You can't do that. And I think she's a little bummed about that. That's
yeah, and I think that also Lorelai would know that. Like I sort of feel like he's framing it like that's why he wasn't there. That he was spending the whole evening trying to get those tickets when the truth.
Oh, I agree.
Well, we saw him at Lorelai's house. So yeah, if she was there, she'd also be lying. Like this guy's also kind of softly lying to you right now.
How did he get tickets so quickly? He waited in line. Wendy. Oh, my comment was that it's not that we're comparing Jess to Dean. We're comparing Jess to a guy that knows how to treat a girl. So it doesn't have to even be on the Dean scale. It can at least be on a human scale. Someone who, and this is coming from me who likes Jess, but you can at least have a guy that's good to you. Doesn't have to be Dean-like.
You have a point.
Yeah, I wasn't talking. I wasn't mentioning Dean either. I just wondered whether that last moment had any pining for Dean in it. And
no, I don't know.
And the only reason why I think that there's just something interesting about it is just from the perspective of binging these episodes. A lot of the back and forth between like I'm into you and now I'm not into you and now I'm into this other, like watching them so close together, it does feel like Rory is her emotions are just jumping back and forth in regards to how she feels about these two guys. But you have to remind yourself, or I have to remind myself, that when this was airing, these episodes were so much more spaced out. So the time that elapsed between that was more in line with the actual time that it seems that that the characters were the time was passing on the for the story itself. We know that Jess and Rory have been together in the last episode for 11 weeks, which was crazy because they only got together like 2 episodes before.
So she's not waffling as quickly as she seems to be waffling.
Yeah, it felt like a little waffly to me. You're right. I guess that's the perfect word for it. It felt waffly, but I had to keep reminding myself, no, it's not, because the time is actually stretched out much more. It just feels different because we're binging it.
Well, you know.
And I think it's hard because they don't show us any of their relationships besides the few moments we have with them.
I have a question for you, John, though, because last episode you were very empathetic and kind of passive on Jess lying about the beaking incident. And I think it's kind of curious that you seem a little more critical of Jess being more, again, white lying about what he did all night, but you seem to be a little more critical tonight about him being available to talk to the mom or whatever. So clearly he wasn't sitting all afternoon trying to get these tickets. And I'm just kind of curious, I guess maybe as a
yeah, I mean, if you want me to speak to it, the
Yeah.
main reason why I felt like in the last episode his little white lie about being beaked in the face or beaked in the eye, you know, switching that to being, you know, not catching a football, it didn't really bother me that much, was a few things. One, I felt like it was a guy who I felt like it was a joke it was mostly written as a joke about his, you know, his machismo, I guess, which, I mean, because it felt like it was just in service of a joke, it didn't bother me. I also, if you remember, I had problems with that whole beaking swan thing anyway. It didn't make any sense to me. It seemed really weird that a character would be that.
It was super fantasy, so I agree with you on that.
It was just, there was something about it. Whereas this what's happening today in this episode with the lying is really much more about their relationship and how he treats her. I mean, it didn't bother me that much that he has certain things that he's ashamed of and that would cause him to lie, as much as a lie about how he treats Lorelai as a.
I 100%
boyfriend.
agree on that point.
Well,
I mean, it's on his terms, not hers.
I see Lily and Amanda blink.
Wait,
And Mary.
Sorry, we have
And me.
Regina. Sorry, we have a list of people going. I'm trying to.
Okay, cool. Let's go for
cool.
Regina.
Thanks, guys. I just wanted to add, because I don't want to regress the conversation, you know, because Amanda, you know, asked the question about like the little white lie and stuff. But my comment about the whole situation in terms of the last scene and stuff, I think Rory was reminiscing about the stability that Dean brought in that relationship. Because I think like throughout the episode, she would make sporadic comments here and there, like, oh, like he calls, or like Dean used to call like regularly, or something to that effect. And, you know, Jess being the monosyllabic sort of person who would answer in like once and like whatever, right? Like he didn't talk much, right? But like Dean, you know, like is praised for speaking in full sentences, right? So I think she's missing that with Dean, if y'all are catching what I'm putting down, right?
That's what I'm flashing about.
That's all I wanted to say.
Sabrina, who was after Regina?
We had Mary.
Mary, you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, John, I was going to say, I kind of agree with you that she's thinking about Dean, but I think that whole thing in her room is that she's emotionally exhausted. I think she's been on an emotional roller coaster that night, between being angry at Jess and then seeing Lindsay and Dean and realizing that something that she had in her back of her mind was never going to be. Like, I think in her back of her mind, she kind of felt that Dean was always going to be there for her. And then she realized no. And then getting even angrier at Jess. And then I know what Sean said about, you know, Jess should have told her that he got her tickets. But I think when she saw that he got her tickets, she felt a little bit guilty at how angry she was. So she was just in such an emotional roller coaster that I think that when she got home, she knew that if she tried to talk to Lorelai about it, she'd only relive all these emotions again, and she was exhausted. So that was her like going into her room and just being like, let it all go kind of thing. So yes, I think Dean was part of it, but I think it was the whole night.
That works for me. I can totally see that.
Lily was flashing for a while, and then cartoon Amanda.
Great,
Cool.
Lily. I mean, and then I wanted to, maybe if we can, just because we don't have Sean for that much longer, another 20 minutes or so, maybe sort of switch to something else in the episode. Lily.
So I was just for a minute sitting back and listening to all the different opinions and sort of reforming some things I was thinking. And, you know, obviously I'm Team Jess, but like at the same time, he should have called her. Like, yeah, you had to work late, call your girlfriend though. Like, you can take 2 minutes. I know Luke would have let you do that, whatever. But at the same time, I understand his not like really either thinking about or understanding that he needs to call her because of how he sort of was brought up and everything that sort of culminated into him being like the bad boy kind of thing. Does that excuse his actions and being like, hey, I'm just going to show up with this big, like, you know, I bought you concert tickets, so forgive me now sort of thing. Not totally. Just sort of helps you understand why he did it. But also, I think my favorite line from that like rant that Rory sent in that message was, oh, I'm a butcher because I can't remember all of a sudden, but where she was like, I might have been spoiled, but like that's how I want to be treated, essentially. She's like, I want to be treated this way, and if you can't do it, then you need to figure it out. And I wish you wouldn't have told him to delete the message because he needs to hear that, because then I think that would have woke him up and being like, oh, you know, I might lose her if I don't treat her how she wants to be treated in this equation. So, Team Jess, but he needs to step it up a little bit.
Do you think he might have been at home and like listen to that later?
Say again?
I said, do you think he might have went home and like listened to that later and just didn't say anything?
The message?
She left it right before he.
Well, she left it right before he arrived.
Oh,
I
but
mean,
he
I-
would
I
listen
mean-
to it. But of course, he listens to it later, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
If you actually listen to it or not.
Is it possible that that's also on her mind? That she kind of has a feeling he's going to listen to that message?
Maybe.
I just thought of that right now.
Because who doesn't listen to their messages when they get home? At least when answer machines were a huge thing. I definitely did.
Especially when someone tells you not.
Then you're like,
Yeah,
oh, yeah, maybe I should listen to it.
Then you really
Yeah,
want
I'd
to
be
listen
like
to it.
seriously curious about what it said, and I'd be like, no, I'm just gonna go ahead and
Amanda
Yeah,
Webb.
it sort of brings back to what Mary was saying too. She's just like very overstimulated by all this change and craziness in life.
Hey, I'm gonna actually just do a quick pivot, if that's okay. Dude, where was that hockey scene shot?
That was shot at an ice rink, like on Riverside Drive.
Okay, so I commented on Rachel's post because she's from Clubhouse. She's traveling and she's got her Oi with Poodle shirt. And she was leaving and hoping to catch us. And then I said, fly safe, love your shirt. I'm also traveling. Where? Going home to Indiana for a visit. Cool, where? I went to Purdue and used to live in Indy. No, she lives in Clubhouse. She doesn't live in Indy.
Jesse, I think you're talking about the conversation.
Oh
my God. I was like, okay, Jesse, wait.
I was really struggling.
I was waiting for the episode connection to happen, and I was very confused.
I was struggling so hard to understand what to figure out how that.
No, guys, it's okay. It's okay.
I guess
I
kept
didn't
talking.
even
But yeah, we shot that scene at an ice rink on Riverside. I think it's in Burbank. It's not super far from the lot. I don't even know if it's there anymore. But yeah, no, it wasn't far. It wasn't too far away.
John, I was gonna ask that question. Like, you took a question right out of my brain.
Yeah, because I mean, the number of like off lot scenes were not that, they weren't that often.
Oh my gosh, there's almost none. I mean, we shot a couple of times on the, I'm trying to think of the entire time that I was on the show. You know, we shot a couple of times on the ranch, which is still part of Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ice rink scene, there's got to be another one, but almost never. That was one of the few on location.
An episode from season 5?
Yeah, we would.
No spoilers.
We would have shot the episode.
The ice rink's still there, by the way.
Which one? I think
The Pickwick ice.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, and I think we would have shot off when we did the Jews and Chinese food at the when we did the Fiddler on the Roof. That I don't think that was on. That was off site somewhere, but not many.
I'm sorry, I'm dying to ask, like, how was it working with Ed Herman? You just touched on it, Sean, about how it was kind of hard to watch that moment because you haven't watched since he passed. And I was a child who was obsessed with the Lost Boys.
Yeah.
And like seeing him in such a different character, I remember kind of threw me because he looked so familiar, and I was like, who the heck is this guy? Once I put 2 and 2 together, yada yada. But his character is so incredible. I was wondering how it is for personally with actors.
Well, I can just tell you that he's just a master, and he and I would, you know, he's an old school actor, and so he's a guy we would talk acting a lot. You know, what's unfortunate is that we have almost no actual scenes together in the entire run of the series. We were in the Bracebridge Dinners episode together, where we're actually in a scene at the same time. But I did know Ed. I knew him from events and from table reads and from, you know, being just, you know, you run into each other a number of times, and I got to know him a little bit over the years. And you know, he's got the highest amount of praise I can give him is he's got the kind of career he had, the kind of career that I would like to have. I mean, I would love to be able to say that I did all the things in my career that Ed did. And he loved doing the show. He loved Gilmore Girls. It was really just like one of his favorite things he ever did on that crazy long resume. And he's also like the thing I try to remember from watching him and from working with him is just when the camera was rolling, he was as comfortable in his own skin as he was when it wasn't rolling. And it was really amazing to see. Like, that is an incredibly tricky thing to do as an actor, and that's the kind of thing I'm like, oh man, I want to be like that.
Can I just slip this in, because I might have to go pretty soon. I just wanted to say thank you for joining us, Sean.
Oh, yeah.
And my sister, who is not a very big Gilmore fan, she will watch it with me or listen to me talk about it ad nauseum, but she really doesn't care about watching it like herself. Her favorite character is Kirk, and she thinks that he is secretly the only sane person in Stars Hollow. So I just wanted you to know that.
She has excellent taste.
I will, and you remind us a lot of our brother. He had a very like Kirk-like existence in high school, so it was just funny. We're just like, oh, somebody like followed John around and was like, we should make a character out of this.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
Sabrina.
Stars Hollow is our
Hey, Sabrina, you've been flashing up there.
Yeah, I know. The mod has her own question. So kind of going off of what you were saying, Sean, about looking up to Ed Herman, and also John has told us that Marion Ross was the person who helped him get into the academy. I'm wondering if there was anyone else that you worked with on the show that you sort of looked up to, or who was like your mentor. And John, actually that's kind of a question for you. Like, you know, did you have any mentors on set, whether through, you know, the cast or even the crew?
For me, it was Kenny Ortega. that's why every time I see him on the credits, I'm always kind of, I loved working with him. I worked with him. I want to say 3, but it might have been only 2 episodes, but they were just, I just loved it. That mine would be Kenny Ortega.
I just definitely had Ed is always the first person I would mention because he and I would specifically talk like nuts and bolts about acting, which some people might find fascinating and some people would find boring as heck, I'm sure. But I was super fortunate in that I was a relatively young guy, but the people that I worked with the most were Mike Winters and Liz and Sally, and Scott Patterson, of course. But those older actors who were just like they were actors, but they were also entertainers and had just been in show business for decades, and I just loved it. Like it was such a wonderful job to be able to go to work and learn from those actors every single day, and or when we would work together, and I looked up to all of them actually, and the entertainment industry is a beast, and it chews up and swallows up and chews up and swallows a lot of people. And for those lifers who had been in the business for decades and like were still at it and having a blast and loving what they did, it was the best, school I could have ever had as a performer.
Right on. Right on. I see Patty and then Hillary.
Sean had mentioned, talked about Rory's acting skills, Alexis's acting skills, and I'd actually heard Ed Herman speak very, very highly about her acting as well, and how it didn't go as recognized as it should have.
Yeah, I totally agree. She Alexis is a total natural, and the reason I brought that up when I did watching the show is that I hear all these people now who are watching Handmaid's Tale, and they're like who knew she had it in her? And I'm like, I knew.
Hell yeah.
I knew.
I know that offends me.
And you watch her in those scenes that we saw in that episode right there. Like that's fantastic. She's juggling a lot of different balls in terms of what she's trying to communicate as a performer, but she's living in the moment. It's just like really, really great. Yeah.
And Gilmore Girls was her first show too.
I've gone back and forth on which on my favorite Gilmore Girl. For everyone knows, or most of the remarkists here know that for a long time it was Emily, and then I'd say middle of season 2, Rory just started creeping up, and by the first, quarter of this season, it was firmly Rory, and that's like mostly just the performance, like just all of that emotional nuance and all of the juggling that she does. She just totally crushes that role. It's so amazing.
It's always fun to watch the performers because I honestly I think it's been a couple of years since I actually sat and watched an episode start to finish. So it's kind of fresh and exciting, but like it's a little different than any other kind of acting. It's a little more performative. It's a little more like theater. It's certainly like old school films, like films from 30s and 40s. And it's just, there's so many great performers. And like Kelly, we already mentioned so many great ones, but Kelly Bishop just crushes every scene she's in.
I definitely want to talk about that scene from today, by the way.
So does Liza, by the way, who's not in this episode, but Liza Wiles is another one who just destroys every scene she's in.
Yeah, I would just like to say, like with Gilmore Girls, like watching the show and like seeing that so many people are just in so many established, well-known like TV shows, movies, like behind the scenes, like winning awards and stuff. Now it's like that show really has like a whole freaking charcuterie board of talent that people just cannot, miss today. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I love the series.
Where did that
feel
word? I feel like charcuterie is just like now it's everywhere. That word.
It's everywhere, including charcuterie. Wait, Hillary. We have Hillary, and then Shauna and Tiffany.
And
So, Sean, I texted my sister and let her know that we were on with you. She texted back a unicorn emoji with its mind being blown and one with starry eyes. And he said, he's great though. The only one I like, but don't say that. But I know that no one will take offense because
That's very sweet.
I mean,
That's high
And, but-
compliment coming from somebody who didn't like the show or watch the show.
but she said that I had to tell you that when I participated in a Gilmore Girls trivia night in Philadelphia a few years back, it was basically me and a bunch of my friends who very lightly watched the show. So it was basically me against like 300 people, and we came in third.
Oh,
And
nice.
she said to tell him I told you to tell him, so it's not bragging. Because I said that it wasn't really an accomplishment in the light of the group that we're in with everybody, because everybody knows like everything. So
Hillary, are you at
There's
the
been
show?
a few times when I've almost randomly showed up to one of those Gilmore Girls trivia nights at a bar, like in some weird city that I was visiting. There have been a couple times I was like, I'm just gonna go. It would be hilarious. And I never went. But one of these days I'll show up at one of those.
oh, you totally
Please do.
should.
That would
I will not
so
win.
nice.
I will not. I would not. I'd be lucky to answer half the questions right, I'm sure.
Yeah, but you could be like Bill Murray. You know how he has those moments where he shows up to people's house parties.
Yeah.
You can be that guy.
I'll take it.
Just
wait,
be
Sabrina,
Bill
who was
Murray.
next?
Okay.
Hey, does
Shauna
anyone
and
have
Tiffany.
something that they want? Because I'd love to chat about the scene with Gran, Trixon, and Emily.
Yes,
That's sort
please.
of, for me, that scene was just like, it was the peak of the episode.
I would love to share.
Personally, it was. So I'd love to hear from somebody that wants to sort of take us into that scene.
I would love to.
Anybody?
I know Emma's been waiting to talk for a while.
All right, Emma,
That's a bust.
if you have something to respond specifically to that scene, I'd love to hear it.
I definitely do. That is one of my absolute favorite scenes. I love Emily in that scene. Like, you really get to see her vulnerability when she tells Gran, like, hey, like, I'm hurt too. Like, I miss my husband. He's never around. Like, he's always working. So I definitely like really felt for her. That was one of the first times that I really felt for her in the series, because you really get to see her vulnerability. And I just loved that. And I really loved that Gran actually also like listened to her for the first time and actually like understood where she was coming from, which I thought was really, really cool. But also, Sean, I just have to say that Kirk is one of my absolute favorite characters, and I'm watching Gilmore Girls with my brother for the first time, and he loves Kirk as well. And also, I am Team Logan also, so that makes me very happy.
Yeah. Who is
Nice.
Logan?
Stop it.
No
You
spoilers.
better-
Logan. I don't know who that is.
No spoilers.
You
You'll
guys
find out
gotta be
soon.
joking.
have fun before Logan came into the picture. I think you were beheaded by that point.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Hey, so wait, I want to keep. I want to keep on this though, and I actually would like to direct my question about this scene to somebody here in our community that always has a lot to say about Emily. Mary, would you like to start this scene?
I'm more than willing to listen to other people first, though. I think there's a list. I was flashing, but I think it's fair to let other people first.
All right.
Yeah,
What's the question,
Shauna
John?
and Tiffany have been flashing for quite a while, and
And
Sha-
me.
Shauna?
Okay, so, the whole thing with Emily is that, okay, she's been put through hell with Trix forever, from day one. Later on in the series, we'll find out how long she's been doing that. And, and even though she might have, went just a little overboard, you know, on that scene, they quickly were able to get back to normal. And so, you know, I mean, it was like, okay, well, I'm over it. She's over it. We'll move on, you know. But I wanted to say before, you know, when everybody was talking about all the characters and everything and all their favorite characters, there's also one that most people will just like completely leave out, and that is the town of Star Hollow. It is its own character. And that's what I wanted to say.
Nice. And what? Remind me who was after Shauna?
Tiffany.
Tiffany. Go for it.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny because I don't really understand. Like, I love the part of the episode with Trix and Emily, but I'm like, I don't understand. Like, she's not married, she's not doing anything wrong, and so I mean, I guess the only like the biggest part is that this is a gentleman who's not like in a suit; he's like in this tracksuit. But I mean, she's able to do it. She's an adult, and so it's kind of like I don't really get what the big what the big deal is. But I guess I can see where she feels like she's like straight-laced and this is just something out of character. But we got to remember that Gran rented her house to Korn, so she's not exactly like that straight-laced. So, and before I was flashing, I just wanted to say that I really like Kirk's episode, like Kirk's part of the episode, because I just love how he interacts with everyone. Like, I think he's the only character that interacts with so many different people, and that must just be such a fun thing to do, because you have all these like with the Luke scenes and just all these different people and different actors to kind of go off of. That must have been really fun. I think that would be like the biggest part of being Kirk, is to be able to enjoy all the different, you know, scenes that you get to do with different people instead of the same kind of, you know, everybody else has like the same 3 or 4 people they always interact with. And I think it's kind of cool that he has, you know.
Dude, you even have some interaction with the band. There's a band episode, I remember.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of the great things about that job. It's like, not only did I get to work with all the different actors, but also just like most of the different sets, and because of all the different jobs Kirk had, it was really like, you know, I'd get a script for the next episode, and I would open it up and just know, gosh, I could be doing anything in there. And that's just really a gift. I miss it a great deal.
April, I'm trying to bring you up. It's not working. You might want to come back, or John, if you can.
Yeah, if you leave the room, April, and then come right back in, it usually like doggles that a bit. So just so you guys know, we've got Sean for just a few more minutes. And you know, I know that there are quite a few people that are flashing. Unfortunately, not all of you will be able to speak before he leaves, but hopefully you had a good enough
I'll
time
be back.
that you'll come back.
I'll be back. Yeah.
We're here every night.
Can I say something?
Well, before you do, Tasha, let's get some other folks in there, because you've had a chance to speak earlier tonight, and I know that there are some folks who didn't get a chance to speak, and I'd love to, you know, before he leaves, for everybody to at least get, or
let's
many.
try to do some rapid fire ones if we can.
John, next up is Megan.
Megan, why don't we get something quick in there, and hopefully we can get a few folks before he leaves.
Okay, I'm supposed to do something quick. Is that my?
Rapid fire. We're doing rapid fire.
Okay. Damn, I had a really drawn out thought about this Emily situation. Well, okay, that'll have to wait till another time.
Your favorite job?
My favorite.
Oh, that was my
job?
question.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about that is that I've gotten that question many times over the years, and I always answered that my favorite job was being the hockey announcer in this episode, which is the reason why I chose this episode to step into. And the reason it's my favorite job is that you got to remember that I look at it from the point of view of the actor, and not necessarily as the character. So if I was going to do one of these jobs over and over and over again, week in and week out, I liked the one where I was just sitting down and making jokes the whole time. It was super fun and it was super easy in its own way. You know, in terms of shooting, it was super easy, and I really enjoyed it. This is like it was a great episode for, you know, I don't want to be delivering flowers all over town in every episode. I want to be sitting down and cracking jokes. So as far as jobs go, this isn't my favorite episode, but it is probably, I think, as good of a job as I have.
So Sean, if you do actually go to one of those trivia nights, I believe one of the popular questions is how many jobs did Kirk have? Do you know the answer to that question?
No, I don't, because you have to kind of be more specific. And does that mean number of jobs that we saw him do? Number one, or do jobs that he talked about that we don't ever see on camera? Do those count? And number three, what exactly constitutes a job? Do we know if he's getting paid for some of the things like obviously being Jesus in the Festival of Living Art, that's not a job, you wouldn't think. But what about walking on stilts in the Bay Hill maze? Is that something Kirk got paid to do, or is it something he was volunteering to do? So there's a lot of different questions. I think there's no definite answer. However, I think the answer is something around, it's like, it's in the ballpark of the early 60s, I think.
Yes. Happy hands been flashing. Shelly.
Oh, thank
Shelley
you.
and then Kathy Ann, sorry.
Okay, I was going to continue to talk about Emily, but I won't do that now. I thought it was hilarious how tickled she was, like a kid in a candy store when she saw her kissing the man in the track.
Oh, that seems so good.
It was very good. But I think one of our favorite episodes, probably I could speak for a lot of people, is that we just saw it last week, the dance marathon, and you were getting down and carrying that big trophy around.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite Kirk episode.
Excellent.
Oh my God. Can I just jump in here real quick? I'm sorry. So I went to Gilmore Girls Fan Fest before the pandemic, Sean, and you missed the best moment of my life. I was awarded a trophy for the dance marathon, and I did a lap around the tent just like you.
God.
And there is video.
The Rocky theme or no?
They didn't have music on at the time. I just started running in circles because I was like, I didn't even know they were giving out a trophy, and I actually am on a competitive dance team. So I was like, this is the best moment of my life. I'm gonna do a lap like Kirk.
I had to actually learn how to dance a little bit for that episode. It was
that was an Ortega episode. That was an Ortega.
Great
episode.
You guys, I gotta get going, but this is a really cool thing, and I'll be back.
Dude, thank you for doing this, man.
Thank you so much for coming, Sean. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Sean. We look forward to having you again.
Thank you for coming, Sean.
Thank
Later.
you,
Bye,
Sean.
guys.
Thanks
You're
so much.
definitely
Sean.
great. Please come
Love
back.
you all.
Bye. Please come back.
Bye.
Love you. Love you.
We
Bye.
love you. Have a good one.
All right. That was awesome.
That was amazing.
Got like
Thank
2
you.
hours worth of fangirling time.
Oh my God.
So glad.
Yeah.
We need to tone down that.
Tone down what?
Because not to be like a sore spot, but he kind of did say to kind of not treat it as like a fangirling type thing, and I kind of see not to be rude or anything like that, but we were kind of fangirling quite a bit.
I actually thought that was the opposite. We talked a lot about the
Yeah,
episode.
I think I think that it was a nice balance. If I had to compare this to when we had Keiko on, I would say we did a pretty this was a Remarkist room. This was
I'm not saying any.
This is the kind of rooms that we always have. When we don't have guests, and I think he could feel that. Obviously, I'm going to chat with him, in the coming days and get his, obviously he's going to talk to me more candidly, but I could sense that he was having fun. I think he was serious when he says he's going to come back again. So I think we should think about when we want him to come back. I think that's that simple.
I think it was perfect.
There's so many good episodes he could do.
Oh yeah, I think
It-
everybody
it-
did a great job.
I think it's great just to
Um,
ask him
It was
about,
so
you
much
know, his
fun.
favorite things.
Sabrina, I just want to say good
I-
moderating and thanks
one-
for doing that.
Yeah, thank you,
Of course.
Sabrina.
Of course. And one more thing I just want to throw in is maybe next time, and everyone was great. I think that I felt kind of bad that there were like a few people who, we said, we're going to talk. And then there were just a few like interjections of stories and like, we love to hear them. They're great. But like then Sean had to go and then a few people didn't actually get to talk who we said could ask questions. So that's the only thing.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's a balance because on the one hand, we don't want it to become a panel. I mean, like there are plenty of panels and discussions and fireside chats with actors, and really what makes Remarcus unique is it is just a bunch of people geeking out about something that they really love, and so I think that it's true, obviously he's here, he's an exciting guest with us, but in my ideal world, he becomes one of us, and that he does, I mean, like I said, I said it the other day, that I could imagine him seeing a Remarcus room pop up in his feed and wanting to just pop in and say hello. And then of course he confirmed it with, the fact that he has thought about just dropping in on like a trivia night in some city. I think that's what we could probably expect, at least at some point throughout the next few months. And so, yeah, I get it, but I get it that some folks didn't get a chance to speak, but I also think that there is some value in just it not feeling like a line, the kind of line that you would have at a convention.
Right on. I'm a bit of
Sean?
a Kirk, like I'm a lot like Kirk in my sense of like justice. Like I'm like I need everything to be absolutely like just and fair. But it was great. I also wanted to quickly say thank you to Sherry, who was like silently on Facebook Messenger feeding me a list of people. She is the quiet moderator for this tonight, and she was great.
Yana.
Thank you,
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry and Sabrina. You guys are the best.
Carl, you wanted to say something?
I'm gonna be completely honest. I just wanted to see if I could try and make Sean laugh.
You did.
That was
didn't you?
honestly it.
I think you did.
I don't know. I just said charcuterie board to see if I was gonna make him laugh.
I mean, I just feel like, I mean, I've been hearing that word constantly over the last
Really?
like, oh yeah, like we've got friends coming over tomorrow and we're making a charcuterie board. I was at the store today. There was a big sign, "Make your charcuterie board." And I'm like, when did this word just become huge? It's similar to the word bespoke. I feel like this word bespoke is all over.
Yo, okay,
That's the best
Jonathan. I'm not calling you John anymore. I'm calling you Jonathan. You're surrounded by charcuterie boards and the word bespoke. All right.
That's
Okay.
legit one of my favorite words.
I have friends who use charcuterie boards as like dinner for their children.
What is? Can I jump back into the episode for just a second?
Before we do
that,
Please
do.
So, John, whenever you
say
were
something?
inside
Yes,
of
yes.
Mrs. Kim's and you were playing the guitar and stuff with just the three of you in front of all of them staring at you while you're trying to play these hymns, does that, if it was a real life thing, would that be awkward for you just to have a room full of people sitting in chairs watching you, but not like dancing or swaying to the music or anything? Because it looks
Well, you're
awkward.
asking that question hypothetically. It actually happened. That room was filled with a bunch of people staring at us.
just sitting in chairs staring at you and
Yeah,
not moving to the music. It felt awkward.
And not only that, I mean, like this episode is, it's true. This is the only episode of the entire series where I am truly playing my instrument. I remember it. I especially remember it for the Bulwark song. And I'm almost positive that it was because of this episode that Dave Rogalski, the real Dave Rogalski, who was, helping us learn these pieces and especially helping me learn the guitar, the bass drumming, I think it was because of this episode that they were like, you know what, you're just going to need to play off camera for him. He's just not good enough.
Okay, I want to interject. I'm bouncing. I may or may not be back tomorrow. Hopefully I'll get to speak more. So, night, guys.
Night, Tasha.
Night, Tasha.
Thanks.
I had a question for you, John.
Yes.
With that, you actually said, I don't remember filming this scene at all. And then a short while later, you said, oh, I remember why I have no recollection of this. Did you want to expand on that? Or is it private?
Oh, just because we don't say a word. Like, I just didn't say a word in that scene.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And then later, when we actually do the scene where we're sitting down playing, then it all came back to me. And then, of course, you know, and I love that little last moment about being out of tune, and he's like, one looking at me. I was like, oh God, I remember that so well, and I loved that little moment. I thought it was really funny. I remember playing. That's why I said I know that it was my real guitar, because I remember playing. I remember being extremely nervous because I didn't play the bass, and so I was, you know, trying my best to. I was trying my best to play well, because of course I'm thinking, if I don't play well and they decide I'm not a good enough bass player to be in a fake band on television, I could end up losing this job, which I thought was getting better and better with each episode that we were on. So there was just a lot going on there for me. And then, of course, you know, they stopped. My guitar playing stopped being the music that you heard in the episode, and I still stuck around. So I guess they cared more about what I was doing with the character than whether or not I could actually play the guitar.
Totally. And had you seen Full Metal Jacket? Oh, sorry. Zach mentioned, the drill instructor in Full Metal Jacket. Had you seen that movie?
I have to be honest with you, I have never seen Full Metal Jacket. I mean, obviously I know of the movie, but I haven't.
Now.
What's that?
Go watch it now.
Yeah, I know. I should. I did get the reference of the what was it? The 11Z. What was the?
Yeah, 11Zs, as in Lord of the Rings.
That's a Lord of the Rings reference. That's a Hobbit reference.
It
always annoys me.
Netflix said 11C, like in a.
I know, and I'm like, come on, aren't these people nerds?
Yeah.
What was your question to Mary about Emily? I really want to know what you were going to ask Mary about with Emily, if you have.
No, it wasn't a specific question. It was more like, Emily. It was Mary. You have lots to say about Emily. How did you feel about that scene? Emily, in my opinion, is just at her absolute best. Even if in the scene before she's kind of at her clumsiest. I don't know if I would say at her worst. She's definitely at her clumsiest. But that scene between her and Trix is just freaking amazing, and I just know you have lots of feels about the whole Emily character and personality and relationship with her daughter, and yeah, I just want to get your take.
I actually just sent you to say, like, I'm sorry that I dodged, but I dodged because I have a very unpopular opinion about this scene, because I've discussed it with people before. And I didn't want it to become all about what I say.
Right.
Let's hear. All right. Yeah, Mary.
Give it up.
That's very big of you, Mary.
But the thing is that I think that's like one of the most fun parts about this. So just so you know, like, I don't want you holding back. I don't want you feeling like you're spoiling the mood with your opinion. That's your opinion. That's what we love. We love going back and forth. So.
I love hearing. Okay, so do you guys remember how we felt when Richard was guilting Lorelai about how he felt useless and he was nothing, and we all said that was emotional blackmail? Yeah, that's how I feel Emily's seen it. Emily knows she overstepped. Emily knows she did something cruel, and the way to deflect it is to try and tell Trix, to make Trix feel just as bad. And so she's telling her, I did something bad, but it's because you were always bad to me. And I don't think that they are in the same field. Yes, I don't like how Trix treats Emily,
but Emily was purposely doing something that she knew would hurt her and that she had already agreed with Lorelai she should not do.
What's her other option? I mean, like, you know, it's like at some point she's got to come clean to Trix about how she feels and about how hard this is for her. And like, it feels reasonable that that would be how she would respond. That when she gets there, and I feel like she got there in this episode, that would be how she would respond. What's the alternative to that?
Well, she's married for 34 years-ish, somewhere around there. And she's dealt with her mother-in-law treating her the way that she has the entire relationship. So I don't see her, if it wasn't for her like blurting what she did, I don't think she ever would have confronted her about the way she felt.
Lisa?
Hey, this is actually just a little bit on the like just comedy side of the whole scene with Emily. Actually more with Emily and Lorelai. I just love that Lorelai is just like, well, was he hot? Because it just cracks me up. That's what she like. And then I also love that when she's talking to Richard about it, she's like, just means a whole new meeting to just do it. Or, I can't remember the exact line, but I don't know. I felt like that.
It gives the line was it gives a whole new meaning to just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I love that scene with them. It's like their first real father-daughter, we're real people moment.
Yeah, I like that too.
Mary, I'm just curious. Flashing.
I guess
somebody had a question for Mary. I'm
just curious. Like, why do you say emotional blackmail and versus that she's trying to find some common ground, right? Like she's verbalizing that she is lonely, and Trix has said that she is lonely as well, and that's why she's sought out the companionship of another man. So I'm just trying to process your lens of that it's emotional blackmail and not just I'm trying to connect with you on common ground.
Because I don't see that as that relationship for Emily. I don't see her thinking that she's now found a friend that she's going to be able to confide in. I think that Emily will always see Trix as a confrontational relationship, and this is a way of trying to bring her down to size a little bit. And I can't see her saying, oh, like even with the tea, they're going to have tea, but she's almost in awe of the fact that she's going to have tea because that never was a relationship that she ever sought or ever imagined. And I don't see it being something that she will really be able to pursue. And I think this is really, like, Emily's really good at walking a fine line between being the power strength and knowing how to guilt. It's all of, like, I am putting a lot of my own background in.
You're not wrong, Mary.
But she is really good at guilting people. And so I think she realized that, hey, this is a situation where if I don't turn it around and make someone else, make her feel guilty, all the fault is on me. So she found a way to add to the guilt.
Hey, Amy, I see you flashing down there. I know it's really late for you. So I want to give you a chance.
I was just gonna quickly say I'm gonna stick around and listen for a bit, but I just wanted to say bye to everyone because I'm gonna disappear soon. But I'm not gonna be around this weekend probably because I'm getting vaccinated. But just enjoy the next few episodes and I'll listen when I can. And
well, first of all, congrats on getting vaccinated. Crossing our fingers that you don't have what I got for the weekend.
Well, I got rushed for I'm glad I'm finally getting it. Because our vaccination scheme is so different, but I'm gonna stick around and listen for a bit. And just it was really cool hearing Sean and stuff because I was asleep for the whole episode and I woke up and I suddenly realised that I'd missed the whole thing. So I'm glad I got to hear at least 5 minutes. I did set an alarm, but I didn't.
You can catch the recording.
Yeah,
I was gonna say I know it's recorded this time, so it'll be up.
Yeah, we got 2 recordings. We're good to go. Amanda, I see you flashing.
Love you, Amy. Sorry, I have to drop off as well. Have a good night, everyone.
Night, Sabrina.
Night.
Night.
Good night.
Bye.
Amanda, I saw you flashing.
All I was gonna say is that it's always interesting to me that it is very woman focused, obviously, on the show, like comparing Emily to Lorelai to Rory, yada yada. But when it comes to Trix, one thing that I don't think anybody's mentioned is how Richard is so focused on pleasing his mom, and he kind of leaves Emily in the dark. So Emily becomes, instead of like, you know, the person in control, she's all of a sudden having to find that control and that appreciation and that validation from the husband that she usually feels maybe equal to or whatnot. And I thought that that was kind of telling of their relationship, where she realizes she's not number one, that she's number two in the woman aspect of the show. And I thought that was just something nobody kind of touched on. I want to kind of hear some thoughts on.
Can I jump in here? All right.
Who's that? That's
Megan.
Megan. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I saw Sabrina flashing, and I've seen Amanda flashing for quite some time. So I wanna definitely get to her thoughts, because I know they're probably from, if I had to guess, they're from topics that we've discussed a while back.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So on the topic of Emily, I think having seen the whole show, and I won't spoil anything for you, John, but I think, like, in the grand scheme of Trix and Emily's relationship, I actually feel like that moment between the two of them is very genuine. I think in times that Emily has been manipulative, it's been very obvious, like, or at least with Lorelai and stuff, like you can tell when she's being manipulative. And I felt like that was truly an emotional moment for her, because I think she's always wanted to be accepted by Richard's mother and just never quite felt good enough. And so I think it's different than, like, you know, obviously I see what Mary's saying about, like, I don't think Emily ever thought of Trix as a friend or that this was magically going to happen. I don't know that she was thinking from that bucket, but really more so just that she had always wanted, you know, that acceptance and just never quite got it. And I think that in that hurt and in that pain, there was a lot of anger and resentment. And obviously that caused bad behavior. Like, I think the moment where she blurted it out was way more impulsive than it was manipulative, because she did just have that that conversation with Lorelai, and I don't think that was the plan. But one of the things that I wanted to note that I think is really interesting, and I haven't heard anyone like mention this yet, and maybe this was talked about in a different episode that I wasn't in, but I think it's really interesting, the parallel between, like, Emily and Trix's relationship and Lorelai and Emily's relationship. And it really makes me wonder how, when Emily feels so misunderstood by Trix and, like, just wants to have that acceptance or that relationship, like, why she doesn't try to empathize or understand Lorelai more. And I find that kind of interesting.
That was going to be exactly what I was going to say as well.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. I feel like it's definitely a part of this show. I mean, I'm hoping that this whole storyline with Trix continues to grow, and that I'm hoping that this wasn't a resolution episode to that character. It felt a little bit to me that way, but I feel like there's so much that we can mine in that regard, because it's clear that is part of what the writers are doing, are giving us that sort of mirror between those two relationships that Emily has. Amanda, thoughts on some of this?
Yeah, I think, okay, so I agree that the moment with Emily was genuine. I also find it really funny when she's in the kitchen with Lorelai, how horrified Lorelai looks, that her mother is so vindictive. And I'm like, well, she's been this way to you before. Like, why are you so shocked by this? But I believe it was genuine, but I also find it very funny how it's kind of like a cycle. Trix treats her this way, she treats her own daughter this way, and yet she doesn't seem to make that connection that, you know, she is the same essentially to her own daughter.
And it kind of makes you
Generational
wonder.
trauma 101.
Yeah. it
What's
kinda
interesting
makes
though is that the generational trauma stops there because Lorelai
Yeah.
doesn't treat Rory that way.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, what were Emily's own parents like? Because why is she picking up habits from Trix and not the habits that her own parents would instill, unless her parents were also similar to the way she treats Lorelai? Like, you would think that she would learn more of the lessons her own parents had given her rather than Trix. But can I take it back just a little bit further now? Because when Sean was here, I had been called on but never actually got a chance to speak. And I do have a point to make about the whole Jess and Rory debacle.
I'd love to hear it.
Okay. So, and it's a shame that Tasha's not here because I'm actually about to defend Jess, which doesn't happen very often. But so Sean had said that, you know, it's messed up that Jess was just not being the type of guy that Rory needed and everything like that. And my thoughts on it are that, first of all, Rory kind of set this precedent on how Jess was allowed to treat her, because she's not standing up for herself. She's not speaking up for herself. And also, like, if she wanted to make plans, why didn't she just say, hey, let's do something, and this is the time I want to do it? Don't, like, leave it to Jess to, like, it's all his responsibility. You're capable of making plans. If you want something, say what you want. Don't, like, you can't get mad at somebody for not being able to read your mind.
It was sort of, it sort of speaks to that line that she has where she's like, yes, I like being spoiled and I don't care. I deserve to be spoiled, or something like that, because it's sort of like her way of saying, like, yeah, I want a boyfriend that does, you know, that does these things without me needing to tell them.
Yeah, but that's also, like, that feeds very much into the whole stereotype of a woman. Like, women don't express how they're feeling and they expect men to just be able to read their minds and stuff. And Rory's such a strong character otherwise, but when it comes to men or guys, she's really not that smart. Like,
her weakness.
She and maybe she learns it from her mom, because her mom's very similar in that sort of way. But yeah, it always bugs me because she's painted as being this strong and really, really smart girl, but then when it comes to guys, she is very stereotypical in the way that she allows them to treat her, and, like, you know, expecting them to do everything and not saying what she wants and just allowing them to treat her however they want to treat her. And I know that, like, it creates conflict in the show, and, you know, that's why her character is written that way, but it still frustrates me.
John, you have T too.
Diana and T are,
Yeah.
Diana?
I have like, my mind is kind of spinning because I feel like there's a lot of fun connections that are being made in this episode. When Amanda, you were just saying about Rory wanting to be taken care of by Jess, and that's kind of immature. I don't disagree, but I'm sort of starting to think about, because this whole episode, I think all about Emily and Trix's conversation, and how, you know, Trix says out loud, like, you know, I just thought I would be married to the same man for the rest of my life, and I didn't really expect that maybe one day he'd be gone. And that's why she is in this position where she, you know, the tradition is you get married once, that's it. And, you know, all other relationships afterward in this very, you know, tightly wound society, you don't have another love interest. You have a secret one, right? You can't really actually have like a traditional marriage again
in this world. And Emily has chosen that person in Richard, and so she's got that. Lorelai tends to always be doted on by men. She never really has a problem being taken care of. And Rory has gotten all these examples of, like, you know, men taking care of the women. And I feel like with Jeff, like, she finally is in a position where he doesn't act the way that most of the men in the Gilmore world act in terms of taking care of the women around them. And, you know, she doesn't know the big secret that, you know, Trix has a boyfriend on the side, and we don't know who he is, and we don't know, like, how well, like, they're doing, but, like, you assume that maybe things are going pretty well. But, you know, there's this whole idea that, you know, the women in this family get married and then they're taken care of for life, or the men just kind of swoop in and take care of everything. And when they're gone, or when that dynamic is different, that there's a whole other set of choices that need to be made that maybe the Gilmore girls aren't really set up to make. Because Lorelai even said, like, you know, I wanted the whole package. Like, I didn't, you know, I can do it all myself, but I want that thing. And I think she wants what Emily and Richard kind of have, and, you know, and what all of these women in her family have had. So anyway, I'm just, like, making all these connections between all these different characters and, like, how the Gilmore girls learn to have relationships through generations.
It's great. I love it. T, you wanted to riff on some of this.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, like, you know, as people are talking, then your thoughts kind of go from one thing to the other. My daughter, she and I were talking, you know, in the midst of everything, and we were talking about our perspectives on how Rory was, you know, interpreting, you know, if she was missing Dean or not. And it was interesting because my daughter, she was saying that she feels like she was missing some of that security of knowing that he was there for her, and that, you know, I thought what Carl was saying about that security blanket, you know, that backup was kind of gone because now he's with Lindsay. I thought that was kind of humorous, you know, for that to be pointed out. And then for Emily, as far as, like, her, you know, with the jog man with the velour suit, I think that it's interesting when she was on the bed and she was talking to Emily about that, because it's almost like she feels kind of shamed for being with him, because she's feeling like, you know, she should have this, like, undying loyalty to her husband that had passed away, and that you can do add-ons and houses and everything like that, but you emotionally cannot move on. And I was kind of curious what the room felt about that scene when she was on the bed.
I agree. I think she felt guilty about betraying her husband, even though he's gone. You marry one man and that's it. So I actually agree with you on that one.
Hey, folks, I'm going to actually hop off. I made everybody moderators. I just wanted to add one more quick comment, which was that I absolutely love that last moment between Lorelai and Richard. I mean, we've talked like crazy about Trix and Emily, and I just thought that whole little moment was just delightful and fun and unexpected. Anyway, as I said, I hope
it's one of the best scenes of the show.
It really is.
Seeing Richard crack up is not.
It's just his crack up. It's just so unexpected and so fun and funny and just great.
The new daddy comment.
the new daddy was great. I'm really crossing my fingers that the Trix character is really continuing, because just from a writing perspective, it did feel to me like we've sort of wrapped that up. Like I think as a writer, like, where do you go from there? They've sort of had their talk, and so I'm a little worried about that, because I just love that storyline and I would love to see that grow. Anyway, this was a lot of fun. This was a really, really fun Friday night, and we should already start thinking about about another episode. You know, I mean, you know, if we can get him for another one, maybe we should get him for another one after that.
Choose some Chinese food.
And of course, Todd has already told me that he's into it. So I'm trying to think, like, you know, what do I do there? Do I bring Todd in for an episode of Zone? Do I take Keiko up on her offer to come back again and try and do something that's a little bit more Hep Alien with the three of us? Do I pay
their wedding?
Do I pay Sebastian Bach $500 for a cameo to come on here?
I will happily put this with you, John.
Why does it have to be one or the other?
I feel like if I called him up and was like, dude, I'll buy 2 cameos for you to come, you know, like, I feel like maybe that would get his attention, you know, and he might feel sorry and be like, yeah, I'll come. But I mean, you know, since the show, with the exception of the revival, you know, it hasn't been the 4 of us in any, and there's been lots of like little things where like me and Todd and Keiko were somewhere and we took a picture, or, you know, or we did something together, you know, but I've been like, man, I would just love to get that guy just for a minute, you know. But you know, he's a rock star, you know.
Start a GoFundMe.
Bottom line, so maybe we do a GoFundMe and try and.
I will happily start.
We do a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter that's literally just enough for 2 of his cameos, which I believe is $1,000 because I think his going rate is $499.99.
Worth it. We can name the session that Sebastian Bach attends instead of Let's Talk About It. It can be Let's Talk About It.
Love it. All right, everybody, I'm heading out. Thank you again for joining me and for being a part of this.
Thank you.
Can't wait.
Thank you. 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.